your daily dose of sports and fun. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
I'm Mike Hebert, owner of Cantex Roofing and Construction. Every day is game day, and we'll get it right when it comes to your roofing, construction, windows, and mirrors. Call Cantex Roofing and Construction today. Together, we are one serving you.
Hey, good morning with Jamie Lent, Jeff McGuire, and Chuck Heinz. Yates Morning Center chat line is open, so is the Visual Edge IT hotline. If you care to join us, 806-771-0973 is the number for that. Jamie, do you know what a Gen Z is?
I do not.
Okay.
I don't know which generation they're referring to.
Right, and I had to be quite honest with you, I had to look it up too. It's late 90s and early 2010s. Okay, and those
so if I was
those people
born then,
that's when they were born, right? In the late 90s, early 2010s. Okay, they're called Zoomers, Jamie. They're called Zoomers, and I just saw this stat and it kind of made me chuckle because I think probably all generations, but the Zoomers, they were kind of laid out to dry here. In this research, half of Gen Z viewers admit to streaming while working from home, Jamie. And 48% of those admit to lying to their bosses about it. So if you've got a Zoomer that is working from home at your place, or wants to, they're probably not wanting to work. And you could probably say this about the baby boomers too, which is my group, or the millennials or anybody else. They're probably not working, pushing it to the max when they're working from home. So just
or working at work at the office. There's a lot of talking going around this place. A lot of people standing in people's doorways and all that stuff, right?
Well, that's different.
Chit-chatting, all that kind of stuff instead of working, right?
Yeah, that's different. That's called commingling or, collegial.
Whether you're streaming a movie at your desk or you're standing in somebody's doorway talking, either way, you're not working. Same thing.
Yeah.
Same difference, right? You're getting the same amount not done.
You're so efficient with your work, too.
Here's the thing, though, Chuck. If you're sitting at your desk streaming, okay, watching a movie or doing whatever, watching cat videos on Twitter, okay? Yeah. All right, it's only you who's not working. If you're standing in someone else's doorways, talking about what you did over the weekend or the NFL over the weekend,
the brisket that you cooked over the weekend,
brisket that you cooked. Not only are you not working, but you're keeping somebody else from working.
Yeah, that's a problem.
So you're better off just sitting at your desk and watching cat videos.
How often do you do that? Watch the cat videos?
I'm not a cat guy. I mean, shoot, yesterday I couldn't tell the difference between a cat and a mouse, so you missed that. But
okay. We have baseball going on right now. This is from Tokyo. The Los Angeles Dodgers and the Chicago Cubs, Jamie, they're in the bottom of the fifth, and the Dodgers leading 6-2. Dodgers have already won one of those games.
They're on pace for like 162-0, I think.
Have you, or do you? I think we've talked about this probably in the past, but do you write down your Major League Baseball predictions?
No, I do not.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't really made any, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I've got. Speaking of,
you got yours written down?
No, in fact, speaking of big work that I've got to do today is I've got to do my NCAA bracket. I know that everybody's going to be interested in what I think about that at some point in time. I mean, even I think people just, as you go out and see folks or talk to people, they're like, "Oh, you got your bracket." Then I got to be able to respond to that, Jamie. So
I think that's something that's it's pretty common. at this time of the year? You know, like who you got in your Final Four? Yeah, that seems like a pretty legit question that people ask.
Or, you know, how far you got the Red Raiders going?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's another one.
That's another one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many people in Cheyenne that I run into today are going to be interested in that, but you know, I'm sure I'll find, you know, different folks to talk to. I had extensive conversations yesterday in our travels here with folks that I met, and they were willing to have conversations with me too. I mean, I learned stuff about different folks. It was a very fruitful day. Texas Rangers, man, they continue to have pitching injuries, Jamie. I mean, John Gray is now going to be out for a period of time, and the Rangers have signed Patrick Corbin. He's a left-hander. It's a 1-year deal, and he's entering his 13th season. And he spent 6 years with the Washington Nationals, where he got a $140 million contract. He is a 2-time All-Star. He's the only pitcher in baseball who's made 31 or more starts in every full season since 2017. So they view him as a durable veteran.
Yeah,
but
no
man,
doubt.
the Rangers got problems with John Gray on the 60-day injured list now. Cody Bradford has been shut down, the left-hander, because of soreness in his elbow. He'll start the season on the injured list. And you've got Jacob deGrom. Now you're really going to rely on that cat, and he's a guy that, you know, has been anything but durable, right?
Yeah, I think the signing of Corbin was a good one because he's, like you just said there, very, very durable guy. Okay, and he's going to go out there and he's going to, I mean, he may not be his all-star form that he once was, but he's going to be able to take the ball every fifth day. And he gives you backup options in case guys are hurt, because guys are going to come off the injured list and they're going to get back out there. And so he gives you some more options. So I thought it was a smart move by the Rangers. I think he's a good pitcher. And again, a guy that just doesn't seem to be hurt very often. So you love seeing that. So I feel like that was a smart move yesterday. And it does feel like right now the Rangers are a little bit snake bit with some pitching injuries. Hopefully that turns quickly.
The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
45 this morning here on the Morning Drive. Time for this day in sports history. Today is Wednesday, March the 19th, 2025. Here's Jeff McGuire with this day in sports history.
We haven't actually talked about this event at all yet this year, but I feel like this is the time of year I normally bring it up, with this specific number even. 1937, the 96th Grand National took place, with King George VI and Queen Elizabeth in attendance, aptly named the Royal Mail, ridden by jockey Evans Williams, wins at odds of 100-6. Estimated crowd of 300,000 people there.
Wow.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. I thought you were going to bring up Pavo Nurmi.
No. He's a late spring, summer, early fall kind of guy.
Well, I mean, you're allowed to run in the winter, aren't you?
Yeah, but it's cold. If you're going to break records, you do it when it's warmer.
Yeah,
that's what he did. Let's break records. 1955, 17th NCAA Men's Basketball Championship took place. San Francisco beats LaSalle 77-63. Don's future Hall of Fame center Bill Russell is named the tournament most outstanding player. Sad day for one little boy named Jeff McGuire in 1991. Kansas City Royals announced they are putting Bo Jackson on waivers.
Yeah, that old hip just couldn't come back. He would come back and play with the White Sox, but man, after that crazy, just freak hip injury with the Raiders, he just never was the same.
So sad.
It was, man, no doubt.
He was fun to watch in both sports.
Mm-hmm.
2005, Ronald Ross sank the go-ahead three-pointer with 1:06 left to play, then added 2 clutch free throws with 7.5 seconds left to lead Texas Tech to a 71-69 second-round victory over Gonzaga.
Yes.
2019, Houston Rockets guard James Harden becomes the first player in NBA history to score at least 30 points against all 29 teams in a single season, with a 31-point affair and a 121-105 win over the Hawks. Interesting that was the last one that he missed.
Yeah.
2021, Texas Tech moving on to the second round of the 2021 NCAA Tournament after a 65-53 win over Utah State. Mac McClung led the Red Raiders with 16 points by hitting 3 3-pointers, while Kyler Edwards hit 2 from beyond the arc and finished with 12 points.
Well, Kyler Edwards, there's another one, man, that we let get away from us.
It is National Agriculture Day and also Chocolate Caramel Day.
Okay.
Happy birthday to Bruce Willis, who's 70. Glenn Close, 78. Clayton Kershaw, 37. David Ross, 48. Nico Collins, 26. And Andy Reid, still surviving after Super Bowls and eating cheeseburgers, is 67.
Oh, that was a little bit of a shot at me for
thinking he was going to die during the Super Bowl. Yes.
Some of my comments maybe about his health or the poorness thereof of it, right?
And in 2003, the United States, along with the coalition forces primarily from the United Kingdom, initiates the war on Iraq. Just after explosions began to rock Baghdad, Iraq's capital, U.S. President George W. Bush announced in a televised address, "At this hour, American and coalition forces are in the early stages of military operations to disarm Iraq, to free its people, and to defend the world from grave danger." President Bush and his advisors built much of their case for war on the suspicious claims that Iraq, under dictator Saddam Hussein, possessed weapons of mass destruction. Hostilities began about 90 minutes after the U.S. imposed deadline for Saddam Hussein to leave Iraq or face war when that deadline passed. The first targets, which Bush had said were of military importance, were hit with Tomahawk cruise missiles from U.S. fighter bombers and warships stationed in the Persian Gulf. And that, this day in sports history.
In other words, straighten up and fly right, or we're going to come get you. And we went and got them.
Turning the world's fourth largest army into a footnote in, I want to say, less than 90 days.
A footnote, Jamie. A
footnote.
Do you think you'll be a footnote in Lubbock, Jamie? You'll be more than a footnote in Lubbock. You'll be a full Wikipedia page in Lubbock. Like notables, when they list notables under Lubbock City of Jamie Lent. You'll be right there. You'll be right there amongst them.
Let's just be honest, right? Okay, if there's one of the three of us that is going to be the most remembered by people in Lubbock, Texas, I think it'll be you. I think it'll be you, Mr. Heinz.
Not always complimentary. Not always complimentary.
But you're just memorable, and you've said before that it's better to be remembered than not remembered. So whatever methods you need to make to be remembered.
I think I've said it to either be liked or disliked. That's better. It's better to be loved or not. Okay, loved or not. Yeah. Let's see here. Let's see. Looking at the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Somebody says this Indiana basketball is similar to Nebraska football. It does feel like that it's lost its luster, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that feels like a great example of a program that used to be elite, and it's just not elite anymore.
Yeah, and you wonder, can they get back to that?
Oh, if they put the money into it, I bet they can.
Yeah, and I bet you that's what the old coach said. Coach DeVries said, "Hey, you guys gonna pony up?" And they're like, "We're ready to win again, Coach. We're all in." Pushed all their shekels to the middle of the table and said, "Let's go." I guess I was just surprised that he was the guy that got the call. Okay. Let's see. Somebody is defending Wichita here on the Yates Flooring Center chat line, saying they have lots to do. They have a river walk and a great zoo. if there's a great zoo around, Omaha is really where the great zoo is. The museum is good. What kind of a museum do they have? And they have a botanica that is very interesting. There are lots of outdoor activities. Okay. Lots of outdoor activities. Let's see.
I think it's an art museum, Chuck.
An art museum?
Yeah.
Okay. Do they have Monet and his group of folks there?
I've never been. I don't know.
Okay.
Something I would have to go find out when I went to the museum in Wichita.
Are you a fan of the art, Jeff?
I'm a fan of seeing what people have.
Of the art.
I don't have to like it to appreciate it. I don't need it hanging on my wall to appreciate it.
I've never been to an art museum of any sort, I don't think, in my life. I think that I would find it entertaining.
Okay.
I don't think that they ever took us to one when we were in elementary schools, like a field trip or anything that I can remember. But yeah, I'd love to. I think I would enjoy going to a.
They got stuff. I want to see the stuff.
So just I'm kind of like, hey, I've never done this before. Let's see what it actually looks like, kind of a deal.
Okay, kind of a.
I don't know that I'm going every city that I go to try to find an art museum, but.
Yeah, I'm sure they got it in Fort Worth or. Where's your next? Let's see. You have baseball at home this weekend against TCU, and
your second favorite city in Kansas.
No, where do you go next? Was going to.
I said your second favorite city in Kansas, Manhattan.
Oh, you go to Manhattan. Yeah. Oh my God, yeah.
The Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3 is presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Double T 97.3 and Double T 97.3.com. We'll get to Jamie's question of the day. Coming up this morning at 7:30 on Double T 97.3. All right, so this article comes from ReckhamRed.com, Jamie, and among the things it says is there's 3 things that Tech fans should know about UNC Wilmington. Okay, and one of the things that we should know about, we've talked about Tech living by the 3 and dying by the 3, right?
Right.
UNCW ranks 277th nationally in 3-point defense. They give up 8 threes on average per game.
All right, that's good news.
Yeah. The Red Raiders are entering this at 10 threes a game on average, which is 21st in the NCAAs. The other thing is they just haven't played anybody tough. I mean, they have a game that they played against Kansas, but that was very early on. And I heard Rob Breaux talking about this yesterday on the end of the bench, in which he said they had one quad win, or one quad 1 game. That was Kansas, and they didn't play any quad 2 teams.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. I mean, and then it tells you how bad their conference is and all that kind of stuff. But, so, they won 27 ball games and they won 14 in their conference. And they've got some size. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're good, but they've got some size. So rebounding is probably something that they do a pretty good job of. Their big center is 24th amongst all Division I players in offensive rebound percentage. So, I guess when you look at that, but their opponents shooting against them 34.4% from 3. Now that's not necessarily the best of percentages, because there have been times that Tech has been better, but I think part of that speaks to the quality of the competition too, right?
Sure does.
If you're not playing anybody that's quad 1 or quad 2, then guess what? They're probably not very good. So even at shooting and giving up that number against bad teams makes it probably even worse. But they're 277th nationally. Yeah. So that's not something that's really
They sound like, I mean, everything that you point to sounds like, I mean, with the level of competition that they played, with how good they are, all the above, it sounds like a team that's from a small conference that hasn't played a tough schedule, and sounds like a team that is very much worthy of being a 14 seed. There's a reason they're not an 8 or a 9 or anything like that.
Right. I don't know if you've seen this article or not. I think it's been discussed to some degree on our stations and certainly in other places. But The Athletic puts out a list of teams that they say are the headline of the sub-article is the most likely teams to win the 2025 men's NCAA tournament. Do you know where Tech stands on this list?
Didn't I hear like 6th or 7th?
7th is correct.
7th, yeah.
7th is correct. So the teams above them would be Duke, Houston, Auburn, Florida, Alabama, and Tennessee. So when you look at all those teams, I mean, you got the top 4 teams, the top 4 seeds, and you got Tennessee, which was a strong 2 seed and may have been a 1 seed if they'd have won the SEC championship game, and then Texas Tech. Mm-hmm. The thing that's a little odd is a couple of the teams below you, like immediately below you is Iowa State, and I'm going to guess this article was written before they knew that.
You would have to think so.
That one of their key guys was out injured, right?
You would have to think so.
Yeah. But Gonzaga's listed, and then BYU is 10th. Arizona is 11th. Okay. Michigan State is 12th. And then you got some of those SEC schools, but I mean, it's interesting because obviously with what you have at the top, it's pretty strong from the SEC and 3, 4, 5, and 6. So you can't just discount them. But I think the Big 12 kind of acquits itself pretty well with Tech and Iowa State and BYU and Arizona. And even Kansas is ranked at number 19 on this list, although I just think they're going to be an early exit this year when it's all said and done. It'll be interesting to see how many Big 12 teams win in the first round too, or exit. You wouldn't think a great number, but I mean, it's not out of the realm that Kansas could exit. It's not out of the realm that Baylor could exit in the first round. Be shocked, obviously, if Houston did. I think I'd still be surprised if Iowa State did because they're playing Lipscomb. So obviously, we'd be shocked if Texas Tech did exited in the first round. That'd be a massive, massive disappointment if the Red Raiders were to lose. Even in the second round, don't you think, Jamie? If you didn't advance to the Sweet 16, you'd have a pretty sour taste in your mouth, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you would feel like you definitely left a lot out there, right? Feeling like that you were way more capable of being a lot better than that.
I've heard from a lot of people who have Tech going as far as the Elite 8, and some have going to the Final Four. Have you picked your Final Four yet?
I have not filled out my bracket yet.
Okay. Will you reveal that Thursday morning? Would that be a good day for us to reveal our Final Four picks and our national champion?
Sure. I'll probably do it during the show tomorrow.
Okay. That's because tomorrow's Thursday, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, tomorrow's Thursday. Okay. And then the team plays tomorrow too, because you got to get your picks in before the first,
Before 11, right?
Before 11. 11 Lubbock time, right. And then, will you participate in Choice Woodman's little internal bracket contest?
Probably not.
I thought you might, but I'm not totally surprised that you're not, and that's okay. That's okay, because you and Jeff both are not necessarily bracket guys.
Not a bracket guy. I don't know why. Like, if it's just like us guys, I'm in. But like when we're doing family members and other people that aren't just us, I'm really not into that. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just like, if it's just us guys, sure, just bragging rights, that's fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But you're not really one to go around and tell people, "Yep, I got that Robert Morris pick over Alabama." Right?
That's the one thing I don't like about the bracket.
Yeah.
It's that people want to always talk about their brackets on Mondays. It's just,
This would be like a good time. You should talk to Coach Tadlock and say, Coach, that first weekend of the NCAA basketball tournament, I realize that probably being at home is really important to you. But, man, because I'll bet you he probably finds that irritating too. Jamie, I agree with you. I get so tired of people saying, yeah, Coach, I had New Mexico beating Marquette. I really know what I'm talking about when it comes to college basketball.
I think Coach Tadlock is way more I'm not saying he's super talkative, but I think he's way more how do I say this, appreciative, or he's cooler with people coming up and talk to him. Really,
collegial.
Yeah, he's fine. He's fine with that.
Did you ask him if he had done a bracket or had picks yet?
I don't think he can.
I think he can do a bracket. He just can't gamble on it.
He can't gamble on it. Yeah, he just can't gamble on it.
This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Jamie's question of the day on Double T 97.3 is brought to you by Connecticut of West Texas.
All right, Chuck, last segment you are asking a question that I specifically did not answer because that was my plan for the question of the day today. So,
oh, wow. Ding, ding, man.
So clearly you and I mean, we're just like-minded as they come. Yeah. I mean, it's like hard to tell us apart, twins, just physically and mentally. My question for you gentlemen today is, what will the Big 12's record be in the first round of the NCAA tournament? And tell me who the two teams, or who the teams are. Oops, there's a little slip up on my part. Who the teams are that you think are going to lose.
Okay, I think Iowa State's going to beat Lipscomb. I think Texas Tech's going to win. I have this feeling that Kansas is going to lose, but that would be wouldn't be historic because they've been out in the first round before with a much better team. So I'm going to still say they win in the first round. That's 3. I'll say Baylor loses. That's 1. I'll say BYU loses. That's 2. That's 3 and 2. Houston's going to win, and that's. So I'm going to say 2. I'm going to say your 2 that lose are Baylor and BYU. And I think Arizona's going to win as well, Jamie.
So your record, as the question asked for, is 5 and 2.
5 and 2, yeah. So finishing the task, that's always a challenge for me, Jamie, as you well know.
I'm going to go 6 and 1 with Kansas being the lone first round loss.
Okay.
Kansas. Okay. All right, I got 5 and 2, as I slipped up and said there, and my 2 losers are BYU and Kansas.
BYU and Kansas.
I just really think it's a tough matchup for Kansas in that first round. I
just don't know how much that team enjoys playing together. It doesn't look like they do. So,
I mean, you could probably say the same thing about Arkansas.
Yeah,
you could probably say the same thing about Arkansas.
I don't know. When I saw Arkansas play at the end of the season, I saw them play 2 times, and I mean, they were. I don't know. I felt like they were playing hard. They looked like a team that was probably should be better than where they finished. Yeah, should be. Doesn't mean that they're going to all of a sudden turn it on, but.
And I want to make this clear. I'm not just picking on Kansas because of Chuck. If Baylor had been in the 7th seed with Arkansas, that matchup would still worry me. If it was Baylor, Arkansas. If it was BYU, Arkansas, anywhere in that range of the big squishy middle of the Big 12 in that matchup, that I would be looking at that as the one mark against the conference.
Well, it's interesting because both those coaches, while they've had their success in the NCAA tournament, they've had their failures as well, and both with far better teams than what they've got. But I agree with Jamie. I don't know how much those guys want to play with each other. It almost looks indifferent at times. I mean, I haven't seen them play a ton, but they make too many turnovers. Their big guy inside really. I mean, he's a kind of a feast or famine guy. I mean, he's a guy that could go for 6 in the first half and 26 in the second half, or he could just be stone cold and have hands of bricks. around him. But I think for Arkansas, I think they kind of I agree with Jamie. I think they kind of have started to figure it out a little bit. But the BYU VCU game, that is and we talked about this the other day. That is one of the more popular upset picks by the pundits, the experts, the guys that know them.
Which means that BYU is going to blow them out, right?
Yeah. And I didn't tell you Arizona's game, but Arizona has the Akron Zips, and Arizona's a 4 seed and Akron's a 13 seed. So they ought to be able to take them on pretty easily.
You would think.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So you would think.
All right. So okay. Now just to continue the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So go with what you picked in the first round. Who's making it out of the second round?
I think Texas Tech makes it out of the second round. Iowa State potentially going to face Ole Miss. I don't think they're going to beat Ole Miss, so Iowa State's going to drop out of there. I think Houston, it looks like a Final Four team, maybe even a national championship team to me. So they're not going to have any problems with. Well, they may have a problem with Georgia or Gonzaga, but I don't think so. So let's say BYU. If BYU beats VCU, Jamie, then I think they make it to the Sweet 16. If Baylor beats Mississippi State, they're not beating Duke. Okay, they're just not. And so I'd say that's 3 losses. Yeah, you might only have 3 teams make it out: Texas Tech, BYU, and Houston. And I think Arizona's going to beat. Arizona would beat Oregon. Those teams should be familiar with each other, very familiar with each other. So I'll say 4 make it to the Sweet 16. That's a big number, though.
It's interesting that you had BYU advancing to the Sweet 16 when you had them losing in the first round.
No, what I said if they beat VCU, okay, then I think they beat Wisconsin. So if I have to eliminate,
I said just take your picks and then see who advances past the second round.
Okay, so 3, Jamie, 3.
I have only Baylor losing in my 5, so I have 4 of the 5 making it to the Sweet 16.
I've got Baylor and BYU falling in the next round.
Okay.
So I would say so. Then mine would be Texas Tech, Houston, and Arizona would advance.
This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Jamie Lent and Jeff McGuire. I'm Chuck Heinz. Great to have you with us today on the Morning Drive. We come to you from the First United Bank studio and look forward to continuing getting your thoughts and comments on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. If you have a Final Four that you want to share with us, or if you're not quite ready to do your reveal, we understand. We haven't revealed ours yet. We're going to do that tomorrow. But if you have a thought on that, hit us up on the Yates Flooring Center chat line or the Visual Edge IT hotline. Jamie, just to kind of follow up on what Coach Gerlich said with regard to playing well in the last 10 games. So one of the things I did last night, and I'm not going to hit you with all the numbers, but just to kind of to share with you real quick what they have done in the last 10 games where they've played much better. For instance, in Big 12 play, they were getting outscored in the paint by 8 points. That number is down to 4 now in the last 10 games. Points off turnovers, which has been just a real bugaboo for this team, and empty possessions. They're basically even in the last 10 games with their opponent. Lady Raiders have scored about 15 a game, and their opponents 16 a game, and it's points, 15.2 and 15.8, so basically a half a point. And then the bench scoring is significant, because in Big 12 play you'd outscored your opponents by 4.5 points. And now that's up to almost 8 points a ball game. And specifically where that's coming from is Jalen Bristow off the bench, and then what you're seeing from Logan Johnson off the bench. So there has been improvement over the last 10 games, and it's been like, okay, long time coming, but at least it's come. And you've like I said, you've played better in the last 10 games, and the numbers support that overall. So we'll see if that carries over against Wyoming on Thursday night, which is tomorrow night. We'll have it at 7, play-by-play at 7:30 from Wyoming, from Laramie, and they're a team that they're tough. They're 22-11, and they've got a big girl. Her name is Allison Fertig. She's 6'4". She's a senior, and she averages almost 19 a game and almost 12 rebounds a game. So it's another big that you got to contend with. But they play very, very slow. So they're a team that scores in the mid 60s. So you should be able to run on them if you want, but you got to take care of the basketball against them. So that's my quick little tidbit for you for tomorrow night's game with Tech and Wyoming.
All right.
Okay.
All
right. So let me shift to baseball with you for just a few minutes. What do you think, like, it took place this past weekend, that if you got the same performance from your team last weekend that you do this weekend, do you think that you win all 3 games, 2 of them, or are there still things that you need to sharpen on more? Could you say, man, if we could duplicate that performance this next weekend, we could sweep TCU?
I probably would go with 2 out of 3. I guess I'd probably say that, feeling like maybe you would have lost the Saturday game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, something to that effect. Yeah,
because the pitching on Friday and Sunday was really good, right? Friday obviously because you threw a 1-hitter.
Yeah, you gave up 1 run in both of those days.
But you feel like
clearly it was. Yeah, if you're holding TCU to 1 run on any given day, I expect you to win. I just think that'll be a little bit tougher with TCU's lineup.
Yeah, the competition is going to ramp up, and you're playing a team that's probably angry or not happy with themselves because of their performance against Arizona State at home last weekend, where they lost 2 of 3.
Yeah, they just weren't beaten 15th team in the country last night in DBU 8-5.
Okay. Well,
interesting part though is they started one of their better starters. I'm not sure if he was a weekend guy or not this year, but he has been in the past. And Cole Klecker, and they started him last night, and I don't know, that almost making it feel like they're saying, hey, that's a big RPI game for us. We got to make sure we get one of our better guys on the mound.
Well, and so basically now he's not available this weekend, right?
He probably is in a relief role. I think he only threw 40-something pitches. Okay,
so he could come in and throw a couple of innings and stuff like that. Do they have the big bats like they've had in the past?
I think they have some. I don't know that they. I don't know. Their freshman class was really, really good. That they brought in really high level guys, and so there's a lot of new faces for them that are doing really big things for them. But I would say they probably don't have quite as much power as maybe they've had in the past, but. It looks like a really good lineup. Last night they scored 8. They, even in those games where, they in the series with Arizona State, they scored, 9 in one game. They scored 11 in the other.
I guess there's always going to be concern when you have a game that you wanted to play that you weren't able to play. But is that something you think that they really would have liked to continue that momentum off the weekend, right? To kind of propel them into this weekend?
Well, I think it's just the whole, baseball players in a routine thing. You don't really want to take 4 days off. And that's where, the coaches have to make sure that they're getting reps, and they're doing that for the most part, playing inter-squad games. And so, yes, it's better to play real games. And obviously the team, you've started the season down a few games, and they're trying to add them as best as possible. But, at this point, they just haven't been able to do that.
Weather's going to be very favorable for you, Jamie. 74 on Friday, 85 on Saturday. Nice big sunny sky showing up on my phone. And then 73, mostly sunny on Sunday. So, should be outstanding. Hopefully the wind will calm down to a bluster.
I think the weather looks great for the weekend.
This has been the Morning Drive Podcast, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Check out our library of Double T 97.3 podcasts at doublet97.3.com.